Okay, this is a super interesting graph. This orange line shows how many pro players are using monitors made by Zowie. And from the about 1500 pros that ProSettings.net are tracking, it's a whopping 65%. That is just insane. I think this makes Zowie monitors the most dominant peripheral amongst pro players. Like, no other brand's peripherals are that popular, not even the mice from Logitech, which currently is the favorite mouse brand of esports athletes. So why are Zowie monitors that popular? I mean, look at this monitor. It looks like I got it from Facebook Marketplace for like 50 bucks. But it's actually Zowie's brand new 2024 flagship model that retails for, I kid you not, $999.99. So for that kind of money, it must be using the latest and greatest tech, like one of those fancy OLED panels, for instance. But no, it's actually using super old tech, a TN panel, and a small one at that. Not exactly what you would expect from a brand new $1,000 monitor. But Zowie have been using TN for ages and they swear by it. So they still keep using TN in 2024, even though these high refresh rate OLED panels exist that have almost 0 milliseconds response times. Granted, this is the latest and greatest TN panel on the market. It clocks at 540 Hz and it has a few wild tricks up its sleeve, like the new Diag 2 tech, which is kinda crazy, we'll get to that. But yeah, with Zowie holding onto this old TN tech, and all these super fast new OLED monitors being a thing now, I kinda wonder if Zowie made the right call with this monitor. Like, can it even keep up with these super fast, high refresh rate OLEDs? I mean, you can get a 360Hz 1440p QD OLED like this for less money. And there's also this insane dual mode OLED that can clock up to 480 Hz. And let me tell you, this Zowie next to this QD OLED, I mean, yeah, it almost looks comical. The colors, the contrast, the resolution, you can 100% tell right away that Zowie is using what basically is prehistoric tech. Don't get me wrong, for a TN panel, it is good. It's actually the best TN panel I've seen so far. I've measured a contrast ratio of almost 1300 to 1, and the color saturation is much higher than what you would expect from a TN. But visually, QD OLED is just on a whole other level. And yeah, I get it. This is an esports monitor, so image quality is really not the objective here. So let's forget about the image quality for a moment. Let's ignore the infinite contrast of OLED, those flashy colors and all that, and concentrate on one of the most important aspects of esports monitors. Which one of these is really better at displaying motion? Like, which can show things like fast-moving opponents as clear as possible to give you the highest competitive advantage in game. So we have the 360Hz QD OLED on the left and the 540Hz Zowie on the right. And yeah, side by side, moving objects do look different on these two. Like, you can tell that these two are using very different hardware. Especially the backlight strobing of the Zowie just has a certain look to it that makes moving objects look different than on an OLED or a traditional LCD, for instance. See, when the OLED monitor displays an image, it keeps displaying the same image for the whole refresh cycle until the next image is ready. But Zowie's monitor use what they call Diag 2, which is Zowie's fancy name for backlight strobing. So when their monitor starts displaying an image, it only does that for a super short period of time and then turns off its backlight almost immediately, now essentially showing a black image. This technique basically makes everything that moves across the screen look very sharp to our brains, with next to no motion blur. On the OLED display, that's a bit different. See, your eyes are constantly moving when you're tracking something that's moving across the screen. But a typical OLED monitor keeps displaying the same stationary image at the same position until the next image is ready, just like a flipbook. So as your eyes continue moving, the stationary image is starting to look blurry to the eye. Okay, that's maybe not the most intuitive concept to explain, but I can actually show you what this looks like to the eye. This is the Zowie with Diag 2 enabled, so with backlight strobing turned on. If you look closely, you can see the individual, very sharp images from each time the monitor has turned on its backlight for a split second. And this is what it looks like without backlight strobing. A good bit blurrier, obviously. And the 360Hz OLED, also slightly blurry, but its insanely fast response times really help a lot to make it look sharper than the Zowie without Diag. And the 480Hz OLED, well, it's even sharper, getting very close to what Zowie can only achieve with Diag 2. So why are these OLEDs looking so good? Well, it's their super fast response times that really make the difference here. OLED is just much faster, so there's virtually no smearing or ghosting. And I gotta say, without dying 2, I prefer what both OLED monitors bring to the table, despite the high refresh rate of the 2586X. Even just the 360Hz OLED looks better than 540Hz on the TN panel without dying 2. But yeah, Zowie's monitor does have dying 2, and that really makes it much more competitive against OLED. We're gonna take a close look at dying 2 in a second, but let's first have a look at the new chair I'm sitting in. It's the new Doro S300 by Zowie, who sponsored this portion of the video. This is their new and most advanced ergonomic chair so far. It's made from high quality materials, lots of aluminum and a special TPEE mesh with a velvet texture. Zowie also put a lot of effort into the recline mechanism, which is using a pair of aerospace-grade glass fiber plates instead of a conventional spring mechanism. With this knob, you can precisely adjust the tension of the mechanism, and once dialed in to your body weight, reclining is effortless and it's easy to stop at any angle. And what's also important, the seat cushion adjusts while reclining, making sure you're always in a natural and comfortable seating position. This design feature prevents body slippage and pressure on the legs. The dual lumbar support is another crucial part for comfort. The lumbar is split into 2 parts and held up by 4 springs to auto-adjust to different body shapes and seating positions. And the gas lift allows you to further adjust the lumbar support to your body shape and preference. If you're on the market for a highly adjustable ergonomic chair, check out the link in the description down below to learn more about the Zowie Doro S300. Back to the video. So yeah, Zowie's dying 2 really isn't the party trick of this monitor. See, I'm usually not a huge fan of backlight strobing. I mean, sure, even a half-decent implementation can be very effective at increasing the motion sharpness, but that usually comes with some significant side effects, mainly crosstalk, which causes these ugly double images. These don't really show up in the center of the screen, but at the top or the bottom of the screen, these can get pretty nasty. Or at least that's what backlight strobing used to look like. Zowie have basically eliminated these effects with the new dying 2 tech that this monitor is using. I know, it's a bit of a weird thing to be excited about, but all these UFOs look basically identical now. Those at the top of the screen or at the bottom of the screen look just as good and clear as those in the middle of the screen and really have minimal crosstalk. And that's actually amazing. If you've ever used a monitor with the old dying tech or backlight strobing in general, you know that this is pretty exciting. So dying 2 really is what makes this monitor special. And that's also what enables this old TN tech to keep up with these super fast OLEDs. But that's also a bit sad almost if you think about it. Like, Zowie went great lengths just to make sure that this old panel tech can stay competitive. This 480Hz OLED monitor is really not a dedicated esports monitor. That's really not what it's supposed to be. But just because these OLED panels are so fast, it really has no issues to keep up with Zowie's purpose-built esports monitor. Like, side by side, motion or fast-moving objects look just as good on this 480Hz OLED monitor as on Zowie's purpose-built 540Hz TN with dying 2 and all that stuff. Like, I've been using these 2 monitors side by side a lot, switching between them back and forth, and I can really not say that motion looks any better on either monitor. Like, fast mouse flicks, tracking, you name it, just feels equally amazing on both. The same is true when it comes to lag or latency. Without dying 2, the XL2586X is the fastest of the bunch. With dying turned on, it's ever so slightly slower. But yeah, realistically, 2.3 milliseconds of lag still is crazy fast, and that's really not something you're gonna notice. To me at least, they all feel absolutely equally responsive. So yeah, are pro players gonna be switching to OLED monitors now? I really think they could, but I don't think we're actually gonna see that happening very soon. A Zowie monitor like this still has a few other amenities that pros really love. Like, it has tons of tuning features built into the OSD so that you can really fine-tune color vibrance and things like that. And the ergonomics are just great for competitive FPS. Sure, there are aftermarket monitor mounts you can use for monitors that have bad ergonomics, and there's also software that lets you tune your vibrance and stuff with any monitor. But it's just very convenient to have everything just built into the monitor, especially if you're playing tournaments on hardware that the organizer provides. And that's also one of the most important factors as to why Zowie monitors are that popular amongst pro players. It's the hardware they are basically forced to use on a lot of tournaments. Zowie is heavily sponsoring events, tournaments, and esports teams, so pros often just don't have the choice. And yeah, if you know you're gonna be playing a tournament on a Zowie, you might as well get one for training as well. It just makes sense to use the same hardware. And yeah, in case you're wondering, the XL2586X really is Zowie's best monitor yet. So if you're an esports pro and need the best Zowie you can get, there you go. I've got the response times results, color measurements and stuff like that linked down below if you want to have a deeper look. But for anyone that's not planning a career in esports anytime soon, I honestly don't see a good reason to spend about $1,000 on a monitor like this. I'd suggest giving these high refresh rate OLED monitors a look instead. They're just as good for esports games as Zowie's latest and greatest flagship, cost similar money actually, and they're just so much better for anything outside of playing first-person shooters. I honestly think that in the near future, OLED panels are gonna retire TN as the panel tech of choice for esports, and I really hope Zowie are looking into the new upcoming 480Hz 1440p OLED panel. I think it has a huge potential for esports. Anyway, thanks for watching, man sieht sich im nächsten Video.